So hello and welcome everybody into the brand new Jets franchise. We're not going to talk about the other franchises from a few months ago. I actually intend on continuing this one. I'm going to try to approach it in a bit of a smarter way. But right now what you're seeing in front of your screen is some of the re-signings. We really did not want to bring back anyone to this Jets team. This is the same 2-14 Jets we all watched this past season. So we really do not have a lot of players that we want to bring back. I was going to bring back one of Jeff or Vincent Smith, but both of them did not end up wanting to come back. Pretty much everybody I offer, except for two players, did not accept our contract, and then the rest I didn't even care to bring back. And those two players that actually did re-sign with us were first slot cornerback Javon Goodry, and then safety Marcus May. He also is coming back. Now he's coming back on a bit of a bigger deal. It's going to be 4 years, $53 million for Marcus May. The reason for that is because, we kind of are going to need to overpay to keep him here, considering that he's been here through all the dysfunction. So it's not like unbelievable to think that he would probably want out. So we're going to overpay him just to kind of keep him here and keep him hopefully as a future face of the defense. So now let's go ahead and take a look at the roster right before free agency. So, looking at the roster, we're still headed by quarterback Sam Darnold. We're definitely going to need to bring in some running backs, which I do plan on doing. We're also going to need to get a fullback. Our wide receiver room has some young pieces we like, but nobody really set in stone other than Jamison Crowder. Chris Herndon might get a chance to be the starting tight end. I love Mekhi Becton, and that's pretty much all I can say about our offensive line. Hopefully, on the defensive side, Quinnen Williams and Folorunsho Fadukasi, I really hope continue their development with John Franklin Myers. Henry Anderson is a guy who we're going to end up cutting just because he really doesn't have much of a position here. I like our cornerbacks. We have a lot of young guys, but they kind of do need to develop. And then in the safety room, Ashton Davis is going to be our full-time strong safety this season. And then we're also going to move Blake Cashman over just so he's not behind CJ Mosley. And so hopefully he can develop as our number 2 primary linebacker. He's had an issue staying healthy in his career, so hopefully this season that can change. And then, as I said, we are going to cut Henry Anderson. So we do have a lot of holes on the roster, but I am looking to address them. So going into the first week of free agency, as you can see, here are the players that we brought in. So the ones that I want to kind of focus on talking about are Jason Verrett. His overall did decline due to regression. However, I'm going to reverse it. We're going to take a chance on Jason Verrett at the end of his career here. Kamoko Toure is just a good rotational pass rusher. And then we're going to take a chance on Rodney Anderson, and see if he can develop for us. And then John Wolford, probably the most interesting free agent we ended up bringing in. The Rams were willing to give him a starting role in their playoff game this past season. So I'm willing to give him a either high-level backup role or maybe even a starting role within this team, especially given that Sam Darnold's future with the team is up in the air. You'll see that when we get to the 5th-year option, we do end up declining it. But looking at some of our negotiations here, so we're currently in negotiation with Juju Smith-Schuster, Matt Breida, Bud Dupree, Alex Anzalone, Eric Murray, and Nick Mullins. Murray is probably going to sign with us. He's just taking his time, seeing if he gets any more offers. Mullins, I'm kind of thinking the same thing, but he's a decent backup, so he might get more offers later. Bud Dupree, Smith-Schuster, and Anzalone are getting more offers. I don't think I'm going to make a massive offer to Anzalone just because he doesn't have a huge role here, but Bud Dupree and Smith-Schuster I definitely want to bring in. Dupree, we're going to pay him a little bit more just for one season because we want to see if he can do good outside of that Pittsburgh defensive line. And then with Smith-Schuster, we're going to overpay a little bit because of kind of that same logic that I used when re-signing Marcus May. It's like, in order to convince people to play here, an organization that's been so dysfunctional, you kind of got to pay them a little bit more. As of right now, I just don't know if we're going to have a awesome receiver in the draft that is going to be able to really fit the scheme. And I think Schuster does a pretty good job of fitting that Shanahan-style scheme. He's, a little bit taller than both Deebo Samuel and Brandon Ayuk on the 49ers, so I like the idea of bringing him in. And then Matt Breida, again, just a former 49er running back. Just a guy who could be serviceable for us, but I think he's going to wait us out and see if he can test out his offers before making a decision. So, taking a look at the second week of free agency, we actually end up bringing in Schuster, Dupree, and Murray. So, Anzalone, we lose out on him. Nick Mullins seems to have gotten other offers, and same thing with Matt Breida. So, we're going to have to look elsewhere. Our running back position is definitely going to be kind of up in the air this season. First, I liked Jerick McKinnon, another former 49er running back, a guy who's dealt with a lot of injury issues in his career, but we're willing to take a chance on him. And then at quarterback, Cole McDonald is just kind of a guy that I kind of like, that we're just going to bring in. We're going to see if he can be a decent backup for us. If not, he'll be our practice squad quarterback, and that's, he'll be fine for that role. And yeah, so that's pretty much it for free agency. And then as you can see, we do decline Sam Darnold's 5th-year option. So overall, I'm pretty happy with free agency. If Darnold stays, depending on how the draft goes, Darnold's got a decent supporting cast. We didn't do much for the offensive line, but it was because I just was not a big fan of many of the offensive linemen that were there. Looking around the league, some teams that had insane free agencies were like the Colts. They brought in, I think it was J.J. Watt, Antonio Brown, and Trent Williams, and they even signed Jameis Winston, and they have Carson Wentz in this. So a really interesting contract decision to pay Jameis Winston, but in Chris Ballard we trust. And then the Broncos got really busy this offseason. They ended up bringing in Kawan Short, Gerald McCoy. They brought back A.J. Boye. They brought in Mike Hilton, and that's, I think, all the signings I can remember for them. They also, I think, signed T.Y. Hilton. So they're trying to give Drew Lock some help, and then they paid massive bucks to Mo Alley-Cox, the tight end that kind of broke out with the Colts this past season. So some interesting contracts. Some other names. Von Miller ended up going to the Ravens, which is really interesting. And then the Patriots ended up adding some talent at wide receiver in Corey Davis and Curtis Samuel. They also brought back Cam Newton, so we'll see if they actually pick one of these quarterbacks in the draft. But now we've arrived at the 2021 NFL Draft, and I think this is a part that's going to get pretty interesting and might be a little bit controversial. So let's go ahead and get right into it. So in the draft, of course, pick number 1 was Trevor Lawrence. However, at the second pick, we were shopping our pick. We wanted to see a team that would have taken it, and I think I found the perfect trade here with the Carolina Panthers. We're going to get their first this year, their second-round pick this year, and a first-round pick next year. And then you won't see this because Madden is done with only 3 trade slots, but we're also getting a 4th-round pick next year just as a throw-in. This is a really nice trade for us. The Panthers need a quarterback. They have been shopping Teddy Bridgewater all season. They didn't get Deshaun Watson. And for us, being honest, I'm seeing something that I like here late in the draft. So we're going to give them the rights to take probably Justin Fields. And then we'll see if the Falcons potentially draft Zach Wilson. But moving on to our pick at number 8, we end up taking Kyle Pitts, the tight end out of Florida. Now, I know this might be, again, a controversial decision, I know, but here's why I did it. You're seeing on screen another trade that we're going to make. This time we're calling up the Los Angeles Chargers. And I was looking through previous draft day trades in history, and one trade that intrigued me was the Patrick Mahomes trade that the Chiefs did to move up and take him. They traded, I think it was 2 first-round picks and like a second-round pick. Our trade to the Chargers is just about the same thing. So we're pretty much moving up 10 slots, traded quite a bit, but the good thing is we gave up the Seahawks pick that they gave us for Jamal Adams, so I'm not too worried about it. And now we have pick number 13, and looking around, none of the teams in front of us look like they're in any position to really make a massive move at either Trey Lance or Mac Jones, given that the other 2 are off the board. So at pick number 13, the New York Jets draft North Dakota State quarterback Trey Lance. Yep, that's the decision we ended up coming to. I liked Fields a lot. He was like the number 1 quarterback on the board. But the way I see it, we potentially add like George Kittle type of tight end, and then We get a really talented quarterback in an offense and a scheme that really plays to his strengths. He's not going to start right away for us. John Wolford's going to be starting because we are going to be sending Sam Darnold to the New Orleans Saints for their second-round pick. They were about to start Chad Kelly this season. They were the only team willing to part with their second-round pick, so we're going to take advantage of that. But now, for the remainder of this draft, it's time to go ahead and try to reconstruct the rest of this team. We're going to need to find some offensive linemen, definitely, and we'll see what we do about our running back situation. So, with the second pick in the second round, we were looking around. We saw Rondale Moore was here. I did not expect Rondale Moore or Mac Jones to fall this far. And then I also saw that Travis Etienne and Najee Harris fell this far. So, a lot of players I liked. The offensive linemen, though, didn't have too many, or as many, that I really wanted to take. Right here, Travis Etienne did kind of have me thinking, but I felt that with where we are, it was still just a little bit too high for a running back. I felt like maybe with our 8th pick or a 23rd or 28th pick, as you see on the screen, maybe we could go with running back there, especially with Javonte Williams. But man, Travis Etienne looked good. However, we ended up going back, looking at Rondale Moore, and I thought, you know what? Let's take the best player available. You know, we brought in Juju Smith-Schuster, that's true, but Rondale Moore is an ideal fit here. Juju could be traded if he plays really well for us, or we could just have an even better wide receiver core and an even better surrounding cast against our quarterback now. So the pick was Rondale Moore here. And then with the 8th pick in the second round, we were looking around, we really wanted to hit on an offensive lineman here, and Brady Christensen out of BYU ended up being the guy that I wanted to go with, and he actually ended up having a hidden development for us, so I'm really excited to see what he can be behind George Fant for now, but he probably will have that starting job by the end of the year. And I was actually looking to trade out of this spot, so I really like the value we got here. And then with our final pick in the second round, you guys remember me mentioning Travis Etienne and him being there at number 2, but Javonte Williams ended up falling to the end of the second round, and I felt like this was perfect value for a running back. Some of the offensive linemen we liked still could come in the later rounds. We have a ton of later round picks, so we wanted to wait on them, but Javonte Williams, the second fastest running back in the class, he's an absolute stud. He's going to fit in the scheme from day one, so I love this pick. And then in the third round, we were looking around, but we wanted to go back to the offensive lineman. I was tempted to take Drake Jackson, the center from Kentucky, but then I looked at right guard. I know that guard is a huge position of need for us, and I saw Ben Cleveland there. He was graded a lot higher from our scouts, and he had the first bench press, so I knew he was going to just be strong, and boom, he ended up being a 68 hidden dev, so I'm really excited to see how he fits in here. And then moving on into the fourth round, this spot here, I went back to offensive lineman and I saw the man himself, Drake Jackson, was there. So this time we ended up taking the pick on him. He ends up being a 67 with normal development, but honestly, I'm not really worried about that. This pick will allow us to move Connor McGovern over to guard, which is awesome. And then Drake Jackson, if he doesn't really develop, it's fine. He'll just be a good kind of stopgap there at center. And then in the 5th round now, here I saw one thing that was really interesting, and it was that Tutu Atwell ended up falling. The 4th fastest wide receiver in the class with 4.3 speed, 5'9", a little small, but he could be a potential slot receiver. He's a guy that's definitely on my radar right now, especially because we do have another pick in this 5th round, but I wanted to go on the defensive side. We've done a lot of offensive draft picking, if you saw from the offensive needs screen, so I wanted to go with Demon Wador Lenoir. I probably butchered that first name, but he's a hidden dev cornerback. As I talked about earlier, I like our secondary. I just wanted to bring in someone who could be a developmental piece, especially if Javelin Goodry gets a little expensive. And then with our next pick in the 5th round, I was looking at the defensive tackles. I like Darius Stills a lot, just as a run-stuffing defensive tackle for us, but Tutu Atwell was still here, and here's the thing, man. That short route, that release, both look good. He looks like a potential slot receiver. He's just blazing speed. I couldn't pass him up. I couldn't pass him up. Jamison Crowder's on the last year of his contract. Who knows if Denzel Mims becomes the guy for us? We do have Rondale Moore and Juju Smith-Schuster, but why not just get more talent? And I mean, look at the physicality of Tutu Atwell. I'm really excited to see how he works. We might be able to mix him in the run game even. He might even become something of a running back for us. And then the Tutu Atwell pick ended up being even better because then in the 6th round, Darius Stills was still here. And then just to rapid fire through our final 7th round pick, we ended up grabbing a fullback. We didn't sign one. Fullback is kind of important for the Shanahan scheme, so we wanted to go ahead and pick one up. Overall, this was an insanely amazing draft, and I'm so happy for it. The first draft of your rebuild kind of sets the tone, sends the message of how this thing's going to go, and I'm so happy with how this offseason as a whole went, but especially the draft. I mean, Rondale Moore falling to us was awesome. Getting Javonte Williams, getting Tutu Atwell in the 5th round, all of it was just insane. And then, you know, you put the cherry on top that we managed to get Kyle Pitts, Trey Lance, and future assets. It's all awesome. But regardless, that's it for this video. Thank you all for watching. If you made it this far, please hit that like button. Consider subscribing. Tomorrow, the next episode should be out. We'll show off the preseason roster, or the final 53, and then the opening day game, and go more into the formatting for how we're going to play games in this series. Anyways, thank you all for watching, and I'll catch you on the next one. Adios.